Boomers like us, growing in years, we the goal to make a change of the world around your race. They've been able to set your pace.
We all know the man you are today, Chief Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo. The world knows the accomplishments you've had. We would like to know the people who ensured that the man came to be. We'd like to know the people that brought you up, your father and mother, people that instilled the values that made you the man you are today, and how that is reflected in your upbringing of your fellow children as well.
I think before any human being, I think it's first of all God Almighty. And that to me is very, very important. That is the beginning. If I have been born deformed in one way or the other, I believe the opportunity for the attainment, the achievement that I have made will have been curtailed severely or in one way or another. So first of all, I thank God, and that is the being that I hold responsible for initially making me what he has made me. For me to be born where I was born, when I was born, by the parents that actually became the agent of bringing me to the world. Then the next, obviously, is my parents, my father and my mother. I had parents that were not educated. And one would have thought that that would have been a great handicap for me. When I was growing up in the village, I was born and bred in a village. The number of roofs in a village were not more than 50 houses. And when I was growing up there, it was a very closely knit village community. My father, who was a farmer, was very much respected in the village because he was a very hard worker. My mother, who was a petty trader, was also very much respected in the village. By any standard, my father was very intelligent. My mother also was fairly intelligent. And my growing up, my father didn't spare the rod, neither did my mother spare the rod. My father was a little bit more indulgent when it comes to eating. So I always like to eat with my father. If there are 4 pieces of meat in the plate, my mother may scarcely let me eat one. And that one I could not eat until I finished eating my eba or amala or pounded yam. I must keep it on my left hand until I finished. With my father, if there are 4 pieces of meat in the plate, my father will make sure that I ate 2. So you could imagine would rather prefer to eat with my father than with my mother. And when I had to eat with my mother, of course I had to eat with my mother. I pretended as if I enjoyed it. But really my choice would have been all the time to eat with my father. Beyond my extended family on both side of my father, the side of my mother, is the entire community, the village, who, of course, in one form or the other, make contribution to my upbringing, to the way I grew up, and to what I eventually become in life. Then, beyond that, is the teachers. I started school in a village which is about 2.5 miles from my village, because it used to take us about an hour every morning to go from our village to the school. And that was very important. But more importantly, which is part of my growing up, is the church. The church had implication, both the church as part of my school education and the church as part of my growing up in the village. In the village, it was a Baptist church. In the school, it was an Anglican church. They all have their own way of doing things, but one thing that neither of them spared is character building. Whether it's the Baptist church in the village or the Anglican church in the school, character building was taken seriously, and there was no compromise as that was concerned. So I will say all these put together, God, my parents, my extended family, the village community, and the church, and the schools, all contribute to what I am.
Okay, all right. Now, so applying those foundations, both the church and the family, how has that been applied towards your own children's upbringing?
Well, what I learned, I used that on my children. I make sure that character building with my children is not limited to me alone. It's also extended family. Extended family in the sense that I'm a lover of family, and my children have grown up to understand that their life is entangled with the life of the community, the extended family, and they have taken that. So is the school and the church. I believe that education without character, as the old saying goes, is like tea without sugar. So if your education will have to be reckoned with, it must have implication for others. It must impact on others for good.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, sequel to all you just told us now, we can see that you had a closely knit relationship with your parents. How was it like when you lost them at a very youthful age? How were you able to cope?
Well, thank you very much for asking that question. Well, even yesterday at my birthday celebration, and at 81, you won't say that I'm an orphan, that I don't have my parents. But one of the points I made yesterday was that it's sad for me that my parents, with whom I have grown so closely, and who have made so much sacrifice for me to achieve what I started to achieve from about the age of 21, 22, were not, or did not live to see me as I progressed positively in my life's journey. And I said, how I wish that had been, but that did not happen. So I miss my parents see me as I develop and grew up in life. I think that's the way I feel.
So I would like to emphasize that how were you able to cope? Like, what, similar to what you said, there may have been some words of advice, some principles you held on to from your parents that were a source of consolation to you to move on, even after their demise. How was it for you? What was the consolation you had? What was what you held on to as a source of strength to move on, despite losing them at that age?
I think I will always be eternally grateful to my father for sending me to school, because he didn't need to. I was going with him to the farm. We were doing well. He was a respected and respectable farmer within the community, not within our village, but within the cluster of villages which make up Ibogun, constellation of villages. And so I will be eternally grateful for that. My father was a no-nonsense man. My father believed in hard work, so much so that his own first cousin, who will not go to farm because he's an Ifa oracle man, my father never liked him. Not for anything, just because my father saw him as an indolent man, and why should he encourage indolence? So hard work was one thing that my father really planted in me and my sister who grew up with me. Integrity was another. My father believed very strongly in honesty and integrity, and he will not do anything that is short of absolute integrity and absolute honesty. My mother was a little bit of a disciplinarian more than my father. I've talked about the meat.
Yes.
She won't give me more, and but that's not the only thing. Even in terms of when I do things wrong, where my father may just scold me in words of mouth, and words of mouth was not enough for my mother. My mother will make sure that with the word of mouth, I will either have my ears twisted until has any of you had your ears really, really twisted? Yes. It will be hot and painful. Oh, my mother was good at that. Then my mother was very, very good at telling me stories, things that will affect you, what you should not do and why you should not do them. Stories about folklores, which had meaning. And my mother will sit us down, tell this story, tell us what it meant. If it's a story about telling the truth, we tell us the folklore, and the lesson from that is you must always tell the truth. Now my mother was good at that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, the nickname Baba Africa, how did it come into being? Who started it? And how did you see the name? Were you really interested in the name? Or who started the name Baba Africa?
I won't know who started it. But the truth, I believe, it stemmed from the way people perceive my policies, my interest, and my actions. Well, I was first exposed to Africa in 1960, the year of independence. Or in fact, maybe about 3 years earlier when I was in Ghana for the basic military training, where I had to interact with Ghanaian cadets, Sierra Leonean cadets. Now that was my first exposure. And what struck me then was the similarity. Then, of course, I came back, and my interest in Africa continued to grow. When I was in the Congo, my best friend in the army then, Chukwumanzogo, we wrote a letter to Nelson Robito. Nelson Robito was one of those that was fighting in Angola, and we said we wanted to join. Unfortunately, our letter did not fall into the hands of Nigerian army authority. Otherwise, it could have cost us our commission. We would have been kicked out of the military, maybe. But that was the passion we had for Africa then. And I think what we saw as young men is we believe that we as young men in Africa at that particular time, that we could do as well, if not better, for our country than the colonial power. Now, it is this feeling that led me when I became Commissioner for Works. I decided, with the approval of the government executive committee that time, that our roads must not end within our border. We must take our road beyond our border into the neighboring countries. And till today, if you go from Lagos, you are going to Republic of Benin. You will see that the road we built it beyond the border into Semipuji, which is well into Republic of Benin. And much later on, I think the road was named after me by the Benin authorities, the Benin side of the road. And this, for me, the way we should perceive and pursue our development. The development of Nigeria must not be limited to Nigeria. Nigeria must see her development beyond the borders of Nigeria, because Nigeria, which is an oasis within the desert, is not good for Nigeria. And that also conditions our fighting or struggling to eliminate colonialism, to eliminate apartheid. These were our policies that we embarked upon when I became in the military government that I served as number 2 and number 1. We make sure that we make Africa the centerpiece of our foreign policy. So, Father of Africa, or Baba Africa, or what? It's the same thing. How did I acquire the name Uncle Shege? Now, that one is gone now, but there was a time that was my nickname, Uncle Shege. And if you ask me, how did I acquire that? I will not be able to tell you, but I was popularly called Uncle Shege. Then from there, I think they were calling me other things until I become Baba.
Baba Yabo.
Well, there was Baba Yabo. That was Baba Yabo. That one they did very well, because if they have taken any of those that are junior to Yabo, they have taken their name to call me, that could have caused kata within the family. But Yabo being the first child and the first daughter, so it was all right calling me Baba Yabo. I think these are, well, called that people, or name that people gave, for instance, Borahu. I don't know. Another one, I know one man who started Ububundu. We were at a meeting, and he looked at me and said, "Look, you are Ububundu." And then, but I think these are names that people call you fondly and respectably and respectfully, and either because they see something of virtue in you, or something else. And I think that's how I acquired them.
Thank you very much.
So the youth of today think that there's something wrong with the political system of this country. So what needs to be done for the youth to be able to take up political responsibility?
I think we have to find a way of training. I think we have to find a way of training. You know, politics, particularly in our part of the world, is the only profession that you don't have training for. You think of any other trade or profession. For you to become a soldier, you will undergo training. For you to become a policeman, you will undergo training. For you to become a tailor, you will undergo training. For you to become a nurse, you will undergo training. For you to become a teacher, you will undergo training. For you to become a lawyer, you will undergo professional training. For you to become an engineer, you will undergo many years of training. For you to even become a medical doctor, you undergo many, many years of training. But tomorrow, you don't need training. You can just apply and get your name on the ballot paper, contest the election, and then you win, and you are a politician. And they will ask you, what is your profession? You are a politician. I believe we must find a way of training and inculcating what I call the values that matter to us as a nation. Now, people will talk of ideology. If ideology will be offensive, I will not talk about ideology. But there must be certain things that we stand for. Now, if you will call that ideology, okay, so be it. If you will call it objective, so be it. Even when you look at our Constitution, we have something we call objective of state. Now, and when you look at them, they will sound like ideology. They are, and I think these objectives of state, many of our politicians don't even know what it is. They don't. Look at our national anthem. It is so meaningful, so meaningful. And when you look at the second stanza, it's so prayerful, so prayerful. Now, you ask our people who are in politics, they don't even know it. And then we have something we call pledge. You all know it,
Yes, sir.
don't you?
Yes, sir.
Shall we read the pledge together? I pledge to
Nigeria, my country, to be faithful and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend our unity and uphold our honor and glory, so help me God.
Now, that is good. To defend our honor and glory, so help me God. Now, the honor and glory of Nigeria cannot be in corruption. The honor and glory of Nigeria cannot be in indolence. It cannot be in nepotism. It cannot be in underperformance. The honor and glory of Nigeria cannot be in poor management of the economy. So how do you uphold Nigeria's honor and glory? And there it is. Even the pledge, not to talk of arise, O compatriots. Nigeria's call, obey. Now, if you will obey Nigeria's call, you will not be involved in corruption.
Your military career, you were in your early youths, and yet the responsibility, that was the time of the Biafra War, the eventual onset into your career. There were several responsibilities and duties that were thrust upon you, and yet you carried them out effectively. What values or principles do you think you had that the youth of nowadays do not have?
I don't think that the youth of nowadays don't have. I think the values have changed somewhat, and we must get that right. I used to say, and that is true, I used to say that when I was growing up, there were less facilities, but more opportunities. For instance, when I had to go to university, there was only one university in Nigeria. Today, there are more than 150 universities. Now, but when I left secondary school, I got appointment in 5 places. 5. Today, if you leave university with a PhD and you get 2 appointments, you will be lucky. So I think that must also be understood. Another thing that must be understood was that it was a period of transition from the colonial power to independent power of Nigerians in charge of things. The rate at which I had promotion would not have been the rate I would have had it if I was in the British Army. But what I lacked in terms of length of time to go on was adequately made for in 2 ways: in training and in commitment and the values. Money was not the issue. The luxury was not the issue. What was the issue is what is right. Value. So, have the values now changed? I believe so. I wonder whether how many people today will say, oh yes, forget about money, just let me face my training and my profession, which was what was important in my time. Not money, my training as a soldier and my profession. So I believe there's need for training. Whichever form that training will be. In other societies, I will give you this example. In UK, they still pay special attention to what they call public schools. To them, public schools are actually private schools. And one of them was talking to me some time ago. He said, that is where we produce our leaders. Now, where are the schools that we produce our leaders? Again, in Britain, if you have military training, it's a plus for you, not a minus. The Americans have a bit of that. We have to find a way of exposing and training and ensuring the right interaction for our politicians. On one occasion, I was going around and I met a German. Any meeting I went, he would be there. So then I asked a German, I said, look, this man. Oh, he said, he's been groomed by the SDP in Germany as a future chancellor. Deliberate exposure, training. In our own case here, once they even you identify him, they will pull him down. But I believe that we must get over all these negative influences and factors, and we will get there.
So in line with training and exposure, there are certain youths that feel their background, as humble as yours, if not humbler, is a deterrent, is a limit for them to achieve their goals. What advice do you have for them?
I don't see poverty as a risk. I see poverty as a challenge. And there's challenge in almost everything in your life. And if you see poverty as a deterrent to achieving your goal, then you have got it wrong. If you are well grounded in religion, in culture of our community, you won't see poverty as something to restrain your advancement. You will see it as a challenge. And you have challenge everywhere. And your aim must be to surmount the challenge, to surmount the obstacle.
Okay, sir, what spurred your going into the military? Because looking at the history, it was the Northerners that were going to the military.
No, I went into military.
So what would you say was the reason, what was the motivation for your going into the military?
Curiosity. Yeah. I really didn't have anything. Look, at that time, people who knew me in school, when they heard that I went into the military, they thought that I've gone mad. Because there are a number of things. You see, as a result of what happened during the Second World War, and we had some people in our part of the world they call Mbote. I think they came from the Congo and all that. So military is not a popular. The time that I went into the military, what will be popular is, oh, I'm going abroad to become a lawyer. I'm going to UK to become a doctor. I'm going to the UK to become an engineer. Even going and say you become an economist, how do you explain that? Military is more or less like that. But it's only never do well that go into the military, those who can't do anything. But my own record in school was a shining record. Why should we go to the military? So when you ask why, I said, curiosity. And that was how I joined the army. Some people will say, oh yes, my father was in the army, or I had this attachment, or I have this dream. I didn't have any dream. I just went and...
Okay, thank you, sir.
And I enjoyed it, and I kept on.
Okay. To close, sir, the youth would like to know what you want to be remembered for, and also what we, the youth, can learn from it.
I think the youth can learn all the things that they can learn from my life. My life has been very interesting for me. As I said, I was not born with silver spoon in my mouth. I was not even born with wooden spoon in my mouth. I was born with my fingers to eat my rice and eat my eba. What do I want to be remembered for? That I had opportunity, that God gave me opportunity to come to this world. I have opportunity to grow, become an adult. I have opportunity to go to school. And I have opportunity to serve God and humanity, and I did my best. I think that's all I want to do. And the opportunities that I have are unique. They are. And there's none of those opportunities that I did not try to do my best. I won't claim that I excel in everything I try to do. But in every opportunity that I have, I try to do my best. Yeah. And that is very important. I will want everybody to say, look, if I have opportunity, I will try to do my best. And so that when people even look at it, they will say, yes, maybe he didn't quite make it here, but he tried to do it best. And you will see whatever opportunity I had, I try to do the best that I can possibly do. And I always say, I put it this way, that if you give me a job to do and I accept to do it, and you come back at the time I've given you to complete the job, and you find me not completing the job, if you are doing that job yourself, you will not be able to complete it. Because I will have made sure that no stone is left unturned. So if you are yourself trying to do the job, you probably you wouldn't have been able to do as much as I have done. And that is, I think, something to learn. Yes, sir. Because everything you do today is brought into reckoning tomorrow. Everything. And remember that.
Yes, sir.
So don't take or treat any opportunity with levity. Any opportunity you have, do the best.
Yes, sir.
When I was at University College of Ibadan, it was a highly internationally standard place. We had many of our lecturers came from all over the world. I read classics. The head of my department initially was from New Zealand, Mr. Mackay, and then after him was an English professor, John Ferguson. We had Thompson, who came from the West Indies, and then in the various departments we had international staff, and then University College of Ibadan took London University degrees. So my degree was a London University degree, not a Ibadan degree. And at that time, you could not complete your medical studies in Ibadan. After your second MB, 4 years, you went to the British Medical School. And there was great demand for students coming from Ibadan because of the quality of their education. Well, of course, it was a good thing that Ibadan became a full-fledged university of its own, and initially maintained the same standards, but I fear that now the standards have dropped. But the university authorities tell me that they are keen to lift the standards again.
Sir, when you were young, did your father in any way influence your choice of career?
He tried to, yes. My father wanted me to be a lawyer. But when I was at school, my favorite teacher was my Latin teacher. And that my teacher influenced me. I liked Latin, and then I even began to read Greek, ancient Greek. And so when I left school and was preparing to go to university, my father wanted me to go to university to read law. But I said I would read classics first. And it was not easy to disobey one's father, in those days. These days it happens, but in my days, what your parents said stays, and you just have to do what your parents say. So eventually, the compromise I reached with my father was that I would read classics first, take my degree in classics, and then after that, read law. But after my degree in classics, I got a very attractive job. I was selected for a very attractive job. The Commonwealth Development Corporation offered me a job. So I never went to read law. I stayed there. So my father tried to influence me, but did not succeed.
Sir, in 1959, you joined the Commonwealth Development Corporation.
Yes.
What are your impacts to this group, and what step has this group made to become successful?
In 1959, when I joined the CDC was a British government instrument for supporting economic development in Commonwealth countries then. And when I joined in '59, the CDC was supporting a number of projects in West African Commonwealth countries, in Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, and at that time even Western Cameroons. And we had, in the Western Cameroon, we had a big plantation of bananas and palm produce, which the CDC provided the money and also provided management of these big plantations, and the Western Cameroons was making a lot of money out of it. In Nigeria, the CDC supported some cocoa plantations in western region, some palm plantations in eastern region, some groundnut farms, plantations in northern Nigeria. And in Lagos here, the CDC provided money for the building of two main hotels that were in Lagos at that time. The Ikoyi Hotel, which is now Southern Sun, and what was then Bristol Hotel along Broad Street. CDC provided money for building. So these were the projects that CDC was supporting, and I was glad to be working for CDC until, if I tell you the story, how I left CDC. The chairman of CDC, his name was Lord Howick, was visiting Nigeria. And I accompanied him and the regional controller of CDC, a man called Sir Peter Minezagen. We went to have a meeting with the Prime Minister then. We then had a Prime Minister in Nigeria, not a president. That's Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And in the course of the meeting, the Prime Minister asked many questions about CDC activities. And the chairman, Lord Howick, asked me to be answering the questions because I had the executive responsibility for those projects. And at the end of the meeting, when we were leaving, the Prime Minister called me back and said to me, well, look, the British government and British people have lots of experts. We want them to help us. You are working for a British institution. You must come and work for Nigerian. Nigeria needs people like you. And that was how I entered Nigerian diplomatic service.
So, please can you tell us the experience as a Secretary General of the Commonwealth?
Well, as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth has 54 nations that are members. And these 54 nations are located in all the continents of the world, in Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, UK, North America, Canada, the Caribbean. And as Secretary General, I traveled a lot because I had to go to not only these countries of the Commonwealth, of the 54 countries of the Commonwealth. In my 10 years as Secretary General, I visited 53 of them. It was only one that I was not able to visit. And that one was a small island in the Pacific called Tuvalu. And the reason why I was not able to visit Tuvalu was that Tuvalu is so remote that aeroplanes went there only once a week. And when they got there, the aeroplane got there, it stayed for only 2 hours before leaving. So either I had to visit for only 2 hours, which would not make sense, or visit for a whole week. And I never had a whole week to spare for just one country. So I never went to Tuvalu, but I went to all the other 53 countries. And my experience then, as Secretary General, I had to discuss with the heads of the governments, the heads of states, who were presidents and prime ministers were their prime ministers, get their views on how the Commonwealth could work together on a number of projects. And the Secretary General was the chief officer of the Commonwealth. And I was able to do that for 10 years.
So, what was your experience when you were Nigeria's foreign minister?
When I was Nigeria's foreign minister, I was foreign minister for a short while, but the experience at that time, Nigeria had a very good standing internationally. Unlike now, when Nigeria, if you mention Nigeria abroad, sometimes they say, they think of 419, and now they think of Boko Haram. But in my time, 83, when I was foreign minister, we did not have these things. So it was easier then to fly the Nigerian flag abroad. Nigeria commanded a lot of respect. And the foreign policy that the President Shagari decided, the presidents decide the foreign policy, although the foreign minister advises him. The foreign policy was a good one, and I was very glad to be Nigeria's foreign minister. I'm very sad when the soldiers kicked us out.
What did you do to impact the life of the youth in foreign states?
Well, twice I went to talk to upper six students in school in England. I went to 2 schools. They invited me. One of them was a school where my children were at. So I went to speak to the young people, to tell them about the importance of hard work. Because when I was growing up, the important lesson that my parents and my schools taught me was that success in anything you do comes from hard work. You have to work hard in order to succeed. The exams, you have to do your homework, you have to pay attention to teachers and do your homework and read. You have to work hard. And success is the result of hard work. And also, I was telling them about the importance of integrity. You know, your word must be relied on. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you will do it. And you avoid telling lies, you know. And these are the values that I was talking to them about, and then talking to them about the fact that we all belong to one humanity, that people, irrespective of where they live, irrespective of their color, irrespective of their religion, that we are all members of one humanity. And that's the message I was giving them.
So I would say you've really achieved a lot. But sir, before you achieved all this, what were the major challenges you faced on your way to the top?
The challenges I faced on the way to the top, well, the challenges of overcoming obstacles. There is never a totally smooth path to any position you take. You have to come across obstacles in the way. But you have to be determined. Determination is important. You have to be determined to overcome any obstacle you face. And in that way, deal with the obstacle if you're determined enough, and also some luck. You also have luck. You keep going from one step to the other, and always have some ambition, always have some target that you want to achieve. Whatever you are doing, you must aim to get to the top. To get to the top through hard work. That's so you must have ambition. But your ambition must be founded on hard work, not on people helping you. People may help you, but you have to work hard for it.
Sir, how did you balance the Igbo? How did you balance the Igbo language you speak?
Yes.
And the Yoruba language your wife speaks?
Well, see, when I was in my time, now when I hear people talk about Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and so on, and not about Nigeria, it saddens me, because I grew up believing in one country, Nigeria, and so on. And my wife and I, the language we have in common is English, because her Igbo is not yet very good. My Yoruba is even worse. So we manage. We are regretting, one thing we regret, we have 4 children, all of them born abroad. 2 were born in New York when I was serving in New York. 2 were born in England. We regret the fact that we didn't speak our languages to them. We should have been speaking Igbo and Yoruba to them, so that they will have grown up speaking the 2 languages. But they are now learning the languages. My daughter, who is the oldest, speaks a bit of Yoruba. She speaks more Yoruba than Igbo. My sons are also trying. So we try to balance it, but we usually speak English in the home.
So have you ever felt like giving up at any point in time?
Giving up? Yes, but it didn't last long. When Nigeria was fighting civil war, I was at one time when the Nigerian government, federal government, required all diplomats who were Igbo to take oath of allegiance. You know what that means to the federal government. Okay. I refused, because I said that the Igbos were being killed in northern Nigeria. The federal government did not go to their rescue, and I said I could not declare oath of allegiance to the federal government, and I almost gave up. But eventually, it didn't last long. I realized that Nigeria was my country. I did not want to be in a position of needing a passport to go from the east to the west. And so I made up my mind to continue to work for reconciliation between Biafra and Nigeria, which was what I did. But I almost gave up at that time, but I did not.
So how was life growing up in the southeast of Nigeria, Obosi in Anambra State?
Well, Obosi, where I grew up, was a small town. In fact, I would say it was a village. Now it's become a town, but when I was growing up, which was many, many years ago, it was a village. And the community in a village, most people knew themselves. And we used to, in the house, we didn't need to lock the doors when we were going out because the community, people knew themselves and there was very little stealing. As a boy, a little boy, I was first a cub when I was your age, and then eventually I became a scout, a boy scout. My sisters were girl guides, and we used to go camping, and I loved football. I used to play a lot of football when I was small. So it was a time when our parents and in our schools we were being taught how to behave and the values, what not to do.
Sir, how did you feel when the chief of all communities gave you the title Ugumba Idemili?
You said the title well. You said the title. You said it correctly. Ugumba Idemili. I was excited because the 19 communities that share Idemili River, they'd never done so before. And paramount rulers, they are Obas, we call them Igwe in those parts. They got together. When I became Commonwealth Secretary General, I was the first African to be so, to occupy that post. And so far, I'm still the only African to have occupied that post. They thought it was a great thing, and so they got together and decided to give me the honor. That was how it happened.
So what advice do you have to the youths out there?
The youths?
Yes.
My advice to the young people is first to realize that success comes from hard work. So they should always work hard. Second, they should realize that character, integrity, and so on, is the most important thing they can have. If you have a character that is respected, that is good character. You know, there was an American preacher, Billy Graham, who said that when wealth, money, is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. But when character is lost, everything is lost. So the importance of good character is the second lesson, so that people will come to respect and rely on your word. If you say, I try up to now, if you hear that Emeka Nyonko said he would do something, you can rely on that, know that he will do it. But I cannot tell you, oh, I'll do something and then not say yes. So hard work, good character.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I pray that you shall live long and God shall bless you with the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you very much, but I do pray for you young people because you are the hope for all of us who are old now. You are the hope for the future from this country. And I'm sure you will do well as long as you remember the two lessons I have told you.
Thank you so much.
Unforgotten Heroes and Heroines, Youth Engaged Series, Dr. Stella Ameyo Adedevo, 1956-2014, the woman who stood between Nigeria and an epidemic. in 2014 when the deadly Ebola virus disease entered Nigeria through Lagos, a bustling city of over 20 million people. Panic was just a breath away. But in the midst of uncertainty, one woman's courage became the nation's turning point. Dr. Stella Ameyo Adedevo, a dedicated physician at First Consultant Hospital, recognized that her patient, Patrick Sawyer, carried Ebola. Despite intense political and diplomatic pressure to let him go, she stood her ground, choosing ethics over expediency, truth over fear. Her decision to quarantine the index case stopped what could have been one of the deadliest outbreaks and a national catastrophe in Nigeria's history. She protected millions, not with weapons or wealth, but with courage, knowledge, and integrity. Even when it cost her life, Dr. Adedevo remained steadfast in her duty. Her sacrifice became the firewall that protected an entire nation. Her courage saved millions. Her sacrifice cost everything. Dr. Adedevo passed on in the line of duty, but her name lives forever in the heart of a grateful nation. Leadership is not a title. It's taking responsibility when it matters most. She showed that heroism isn't only found on battlefields. It thrives in hospital wards, classrooms, and everyday decisions to do what is right. Young Nigerians, courage is contagious. Stand for truth, even when it's lonely. Be the voice that saves, the light that leads, the conscience that endures. When you stand for what is right, in your school, your workplace, your community, you multiply hope. Like Dr. Adedevo, dare to be the reason others are safe, inspired, and proud to call this nation home. Dr. Stella Ameyo Adedevo did not just fight Ebola, she fought fear, complacency, and silence, and she won. Youth Engage Series, Unforgotten Heroes, Dr. Stella Adedevo, Courage in Service, Nigeria Strong, Youth for Integrity, Public Health Heroes. Be the difference.
Well, I finished my university education in June 1965, and I got employment with the company that sponsored me in my last 2 years because my mother couldn't afford anything again. But at the end of my second year, the head of our department approached some commercial houses, and the CFAO kindly awarded me a scholarship for the 3rd and 4th year in the university. And in those days, they came to our university to recruit. But because this company sponsored me, I refused to attend any of the interviews conducted by the federal government or the state government, because all the other commercial houses who took part in the recruitment, because I wanted to show gratitude to that company that sponsored me, because I knew without their support, probably I may not have graduated. So I wanted to be grateful, and I showed that gratitude. But this lasts only for 1.5 years, and this was because they put me they put me on contract. They didn't give me a permanent job. So at the end of 1966, I had to leave. They asked me to go, that they were not renewing my contract. So I had to look for employment somewhere else. Luckily, one of my customers, who was the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue, offered me a job as a tax officer. And I was there for only 6 months. When I was in CFAO, I learned something about insurance. And I was doing that along with my motor sales. We were insuring the car and also selling them cars. So when they asked me, they told me they were not going to renew my contract, I sought the help of one of my customers because I sold his car. So he agreed to take me, and so I started at the end of January 1967. And I was there for 5 months, as I said.
So you had a very good relationship with each of your customers, or you had a very good relationship with each of your customers?
Oh yeah, you have to have personal relationship with your customers because you never know. Yes, so there was definitely a personal relationship. So I was engaged there, and I discovered that the job was not quite inspiring to me. It was a bit dull. So, and any job that was given to me within 2 hours max, I will finish. And the rest is loafing and talking and all the rest. But I felt a bit unemployed fully. So I therefore decided to do something. I was in charge of working out the allowances for officers. I therefore saw an opportunity in my insurance job when I was with CFL. So I will go to the registry where all records are kept of all taxpayers. So I will go through these files and fish out those people who are not insured. So since for 2 hours, I'm only engaged for about 2 hours, I will now go out and be looking for these people, trying to sell insurance to them. And it was quite successful. Why? Because I was hitting the target. I was not going to somebody who already insured, but those who needed insurance. So I was talking to them, and since they were not insured, the response was quite positive. So I sold quite some insurance during this my time of instead of loafing or engaging in talking and all the rest. So I go to them, and they were quite positive in patronizing me. So I was able to support my salary with the insurance earnings.
You stayed with your mother, and I'm sure since you grew up in this town, there would have been a lot of hardship and all. And many youths of nowadays complain that the hardship is too much and they cannot use it, they cannot work in the hardship to get anything.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I know where you are going, I think. You see, I served my mother like a girl. Every 5:30, I was up, going to fetch the drinking water, because then you could not drink the water from the brook that was flowing throughout the town. So we had to go about 2 miles to go and fetch water, fresh water for drinking. So I was doing that for my mother, and not only that. Most of the people doing this were women, so I was one of the. So I was tying my ipele or something, like a woman. That in fact, sometime people were arguing whether I was a boy or a girl. So, but that happened. So I was engaged very, very well. In the morning I would do that, and then sometimes I will go hawking my mom's pap, the echo. So I will go and sell pap before going to school. After school, I will hawk kerosene and matches. Matches then, people could not afford a whole box of matches. So we had to tie them 10 sticks and be selling them to people.
But how would they ignite it if the sticks were separated?
Sorry?
From the box. If the sticks were separated from the box, how would they ignite the matches?
No, I will tie them 10, and then just put them in paper or something, and then I will sell 10 sticks to everybody. And that time, the striking part of the we tear it and give to somebody who does not have. So it was as bad as that. I grew up to know that working is the ideal thing.
Sir, what was the most important strategy you utilized?
The most important what?
Strategy that you utilized. How did you get to this?
Okay. As I told you, I was one of the first set of business administration students in this country. And it was only Nsukka that was offering business administration. And at my 4th year, well, I have to bring in my late wife here, who was a student too. And it was at the university we met, and we later became husband and wife. So I was a poor student, and to show you the extent of poverty, she was fortunately on scholarship. She received £40 as her pocket money, and she gave me the whole £40.
Wow.
She didn't take a penny from it. And in the university, she also offered me her meal ticket, because since I didn't pay my school fees, especially in year 2. We had to, if I went to the restaurant, either in the morning or afternoon, she will go either morning or afternoon when I'm not there, because we had only one meal ticket. Our business administration head used to tell us that we were going to become the big men, the big businessmen in Nigeria. And all of us laughed. How could we be businessmen when we had no money? So we didn't take it seriously. But in the 4th year, I think I was seeing some, reading stories about business people and so on. So I got some inspiration that I would like to be a businessman. And in my thesis, graduating thesis, it was there I stated that I was not going to work for anybody for more than 10 years. So, as I was telling you, I made quite some money from selling insurance. But in July 1967, I gained employment with British Petroleum. So I went to work for British Petroleum. From there, I was with them for 4 years. And in 1970, I was posted to Benin from Lagos. And I was there for 3 months. And within these 3 months, I increased the sales there by 25%. And after that, I was brought back to Lagos. A month after my returning to Lagos, the person I went to relieve in Benin was made my immediate senior. I had to be reporting to him. And I felt very bad. Because I rated myself to be better than that person. And I was wondering, how can these people come and make him my boss? So that annoyance in me became a positive one, because as soon as that man sent any memo to me, that same minute I will memo back and say, no comments, please. Because I believe that he wanted to use me to earn progress. So I refused to cooperate with him. But after a week, as I do every time, I always examine what I have done to make sure that what I am trying to do is better than what I was doing. So I made up my mind, and after 1 week, I talked to myself and said, look, Adeoju, if you continue to do this, you will lose this job. So it's either you continue or you will find something else to do. So I made up my mind I was not going to work under that man. Therefore, the only alternative is that I must do something somewhere. So I asked for my leave, and the leave was granted. So before I asked for that leave, I went to contact the company that was then dealing in Toyota, which was RT Briscoe. I went to them and offered to sell vehicles for them because I got my experience from CFA to sell vehicles. So I offered myself to sell vehicles for them on part-time. So they agreed, and I asked for what my remuneration will be. They said they will give me 2.5% on each vehicle that I sell. 2.5%. Okay, fine. I made it clear to them that I wasn't going to be their employee. So gladly they granted me that favor. So I then came back to my work, and immediately I asked for my leave, and they granted it, and I went to work as an agent to RT Briscoe. During my 4 weeks leave, I sold 40 cars. 40 cars. So when I was to resume, I tried to calculate what I was going to earn from the 40 cars. And to my biggest surprise, I discovered that the total is worth more than my 1 year salary in BP. So I told my wife that I was going to resign, but my wife said, no, a bird in hand is worth more than 20 in the bush. So, but then, I must confess, I didn't tell her what the worth of what I had sold. Otherwise, women can be saying they want paint this, to buy that. So I didn't tell her. So we were arguing it, and there was a cousin of mine, his name, Chief S.A. Bakare. He was in Lagos too. So I urged my wife to let us go and see him. Unfortunately, my cousin, older than myself, advised or counseled my wife to say that she should allow me to go and try my luck, quoting himself as an example, because he was working before and now he was on his own, selling for UAC then. You see, each of what I have told you, you should be learning something from it. I went to my company and I told them that I wanted to leave. Because at that time, that was my 4th year there, I had become their best salesman in the country, all over the country, because Lagos was the principal place, and the West was, about 3/4 of the wealth was being made from Southwest. No, there was no oil then, no, but business, and that was it. So I told them that I wanted to leave, but they didn't agree. They said I was their best salesman and this. So what was in my mind? If I was your best salesman, why did you bring that man? But I couldn't tell them that. So I just told them, yes, I just want to be on my own exam. They asked me whether I was going to a competing company. And I told them, no, I'm going to serve myself. They said, serve yourself? Do I know what that meant? I said, well, I just want to try. And so, okay. They said, if I'm not prepared to stay, but I should know that if I tried and I didn't succeed, they are willing to take me back. And I said, thank you, sir. So I went to resign and I left. And I came, before leaving, that my brother again helped me to secure a place in Ikeja. Those of you who know Awolowo Way in Ikeja, that was where the building was. But in those days, it was trickles of cars. If you see one car now, you may not see another one until 5 minutes. I'm talking of Awolowo Way. If you know Awolowo Way. Very good. So, it was not very good, I thought. Our background was more, with vehicles. So, and the Awolowo Way was much narrower than our background. So, I wanted something on our background, but I couldn't get. So I managed that place. It was a story building. And from my insurance, I was able to gather 4,000 naira, 4,000 pounds. It was pounds then. So, to me, it was too much. But since there were 2 flats up and 2 flats down with some space, very big space on the ground floor. So I tried to, there was an adjoining small flat of 2 rooms and a parlor. But before I left BP, I was living in Surulere on a 3-bedroom flat. So squeezing my things in a 2-bedroom without what you can really call a parlor, it was not easy. So, but still, I wanted to manage that because I wanted to rent out the 2 flats on top and recoup some money. So, but it wasn't that easy. Then that my cousin's wife came to visit and saw everywhere full of. He said, she told me plainly that if I don't move to one of the flats upstairs, she won't come there to visit me. That this place, where can people sit? So anyway, we agreed and moved to the upstairs. So and that was it. So getting money to to establish, because you still need some money to establish, even though I was selling for commission. So this was it. And but still, with that, I had to make sure that I could manage very well. So before I left BP, I had taken a loan to buy a car. The car now came. Instead of selling it, I considered myself as unqualified to ride that car, since even though I had owned 2 cars when I was working for people, but as my own organ, I thought that I wasn't qualified. So I sold that car and added it to my capital. From that, I continued. I was using a Volkswagen, and an old one, no, not. So I will continue to use it, and later I got my commissions, and I was able to change that car to what we. Do you know what they call shalake? You cannot know. It was panel van to use to distribute goods, but you convert it to a car. It's a van at the back. It's only 2 seats in front. So I therefore bought a panel van, which I was using, and I passed my Volkswagen to my wife. So anyway, this business, I made up my mind that I was going to be very, very, very careful with spending. There was no waste of money. I was just paying my children's, I know I had 1 child then, or my daughter's school fees, and my wife was first going with somebody to Lagos, but when I was able to buy that van, I passed the Volkswagen to her. I was not only selling Toyota then, I was selling any car that I could, lay hand on. So after some time, I discovered that going from distributor to distributor was time wasting, because you could be there for a day and the cars were very scarce, so you may not get anything. You can be lucky you get something. So I decided therefore to concentrate on Toyota alone, because the company that we first floated was Elizade Independent Agencies. So my life has been a life of work. Obasanjo did a very good thing. In 1976, he cancelled monopoly in the vehicle sector, that there should be more than one importer of a particular brand. By then I had In my third year as Toyota agent, I was made a full dealer. But when I was during that my third year, I was the one selling the biggest number of Toyota, because the other dealers, maybe again, because of my background in CFL, my love for selling cars and so on, I was definitely better than most. I was even better than the dealers. So I had to tell them, now that I'm selling more than these people, why won't you make me a dealer? So they had to succumb. And when I became a dealer, I want to tell you that later I bought an RT Briscoe. I owned 62% of RT Briscoe, and then later went to 45%. I still hold 45% of RT Briscoe till today. That is the company from where I started. So you should never think it is impossible. And this is what I continue to preach to people. Never be satisfied with where you are. If you are satisfied with where you are, you cannot progress. You must be unsatisfied with where you are. Whatever point, even when you are first, you want to be able to do other things that will make you to be recognized, not only as first, but as maybe the best behaved or something, So that is it.
So, comparing business of nowadays, everything is digital and there is lack of trust. Comparing to the old days where everything was analog and everybody had trust. So, what business tips did you use and can you give to the youths that are trying to do business in this present generation?
You see, what is business after all? Is satisfying a need or needs. Okay? You discover that people are suffering from something. Then you think about what solution can you offer. And in offering it, you can make some money. That is business. So, where you have to look for, the need can be by you, but you don't realize it. You don't discover it. So, business is either satisfying a need or improving something that is already happening, yes, or creating new things and doing what is in existence better than it is being done now. You have to engage your senses. What services can I provide that has never been provided? What services can I provide that are being provided but I can improve the way it is being provided? What services are not in existence that you feel that the space is there for you to take opportunities? Okay? So I do describe business simply as seeking opportunities. Seeking opportunities wherever they may be that will make either people better or, a better way of feeding, a better way of doing anything. This is simply how I describe business. finding solution to opportunities. Okay? That is simply it. Look for your own, it's always there. There is always something there to do. And this is what is causing all the developments you are seeing today. People people are working, they discover that you can buy or you can make a cycle that will take you from point A to point B in a faster way. And this is where the youth, especially you people, have to engage your senses. You see, the senses are, you cannot measure the capacity of your sense. You see, it's almost limitless. Okay? Because, so you have to engage it and think, what can I do? What services are there that people are suffering and people are not providing? What can I do? Then, how can I engage in it? Then you begin to talk about cost and all the rest of them. But the cost is not the most important thing. Because if you can discover something, you can sell that idea to some people and they will finance you. Okay? So, it is an unending, yes, that there is no end to it. Okay? I was living in Mr. Didoyin's house when I left the university. I think you people have met him. Okay? So, we are still friends till today. I saw a young man, living in his house. Maybe a few years older than myself. Could I be what he is today when I'm his age, which is only about 3-4 years? So, you must find something. You must engage your head. Okay? That is the way I describe business. Because the chances are there. It is your duty to discover them and do something with them. Not just some people will see things, it doesn't mean anything to them. Okay? So you must see beyond ordinary. I think I have said many things that you can pick from. I've told you, one, you want to do something, you must be committed to that thing. Because some people, as soon as they are able to buy one car, they will accompany it with those things that will destroy, either marry another wife, or, I believe in God. And anything I'm doing, I put God in it.
So as the Aratashi of Aremu to just status, what would you like to be remembered for?
To make people. And people are with people, building up people, they can become they can become manufacturers, they can become, that's one of the reasons why I have planted that university here. I want people to believe in work, to see work as essential. Work, again, must be remembered, is not the end of everything. You must use that work to do good. You don't work and just satisfy yourself. And this is what you see me doing in this town. If I begin to tell you what I have done here, you will have another hour and I will not have finished. Because I've offered scholarships, which started in 1991 and is still on. What I'm doing here, the money I'm receiving or with their pay, it doesn't cover anything for me. And I don't look at it for any reward or anything like that. I think you must be sure that it's not me who gave this name to me, to myself. They thought about what I have done in the life of this town. And what I have done generally for people. You see, the number of Ilaramokin men and women who are working in that university? Is it the ones who are working in my different companies? For your information, I employ more people than either federal government or Ondo state government is doing, who are members of this town. So there are things like that. So you must remember that whatever God gave you, He gave you to spread it and make people benefit from your efforts. Okay? It's not giving it to you to consume by yourself. Okay? I want you to remember that God gives you this quality. He gives you to make it, to use it to do something. Not only for yourself, but for your community.
Unforgotten heroes and heroines.
Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear white coats and carry the truth in their hearts. Meet Dr. Dora Nkem Akunyili, the woman who proved that honesty is power. A Nigerian woman who redefined integrity and public service. When President Olusegun Obasanjo asked Professor Dora Akunyili why she refunded $12,000 meant for her medical treatment in 1998, her answer became a moral landmark in Nigeria's public service.
Because whether we like it or not, to steal, especially from the poor, is to destroy everything and everyone.
In 1998, she was diagnosed with a malignant tumor. But fate had a different plan. At the time, she was zonal coordinator of the Petroleum Trust Fund, PTF, under General Muhammadu Buhari. She was approved $17,000 for medical care in the UK. After further tests abroad, it was discovered she only had a minor bowel obstruction, requiring far less expenditure. Instead of pocketing the difference, she voluntarily refunded $12,000, a gesture unheard of in Nigeria's public sector at the time. When General Buhari heard about her honesty, he called her in and handed her a letter of commendation, a rare moment in Nigeria's public service history, describing it as a rare act of integrity. Years later, President Olusegun Obasanjo sought someone who could clean up Nigeria's drug market. Buhari said, "There is one honest Nigerian pharmacist who can do the job." That recommendation gave birth to the NAFDAC revolution, a movement that restored confidence, saved millions from counterfeit drugs, and set a new standard for ethical leadership. By the time she passed on in 2014, Dr. Dora Akunyili had received over 930 awards, making her one of Africa's most decorated public servants. She was a Nigerian phenomenon, a mirror of what this nation could be. Her story reminds us that integrity is not idealism. It is leadership in its purest form. She was a Nigerian phenomenon, a symbol of courage, honesty, and faith in the nation's future. Dora was an Amazon. May her soul continue to rest in peace.
What was your motive behind attaining that level of professionalism that no woman in Nigeria had ever attained?
My father turned up at Queen's College to see the principal with a form in his hand, that he had got this form for me to go to Yaba Higher College, which was then a college for men who were going into the colonial service as engineers, doctors, education officers, pharmacists, and so on. And said he wanted me to take the entrance exam. And my principal said, women are not admitted. And she said, in any case, I've got the form. He's managed to persuade the authorities to allow me to sit the entrance exam. And he was now asking my principal to prepare me for the exam. So it wasn't me being ambitious, it was my father ambitious that I should have the best education that was available in Nigeria for me at the time. So I took the entrance exam. I was the only girl who took the entrance exam. And I got through, I got even a scholarship. And the first year, I think many of the men, although I was very welcome, but there were no girls there. There weren't even toilets for women. And it was difficult. There was nowhere for me to go when classes were not in session. I had to stay in the library, and I had a wonderful time just reading. Maybe that's why I first got my love of books, because then I read all books of all types in all disciplines. And it was very hard in the first year. The second year, 2 other girls joined me, and they wanted to do medicine, and they were also admitted. And I think they also got scholarship to do medicine. So we were 3 girls who, the program was for 4 years. Towards the end of the program, then they established the University of Ibadan. So we were brought down to Ibadan as the foundation students. That's how I became a foundation student of the University of Ibadan.
Ma, having studied geography and library science, what inspired you being a woman rights activist?
First of all, because of the background I was raised in. In our home, we were all of us, we were all treated equal. We all had equal opportunities. Our parents did that for us. And we all had it, as I said, we were all graduates in the family of 7 children. And we all went to universities and in various disciplines. I remember people used to comment and said, we used to sit at table and eat with fork and knife and all that. I remember some of my father's contemporaries used to say, you mean you're asking your children to begin only where you have reached? It was a long time, because before I found out that in the traditional society, they didn't sit at table. You put one food on a big plate and the children sit around it and scramble for food, and whoever is smartest gets, of course, the largest share of the food. And so it was a privilege, really. We all excelled in our discipline.
Ma'am, as an influential human activist for social rights, what's your take on the violation of women's rights and gender inequality in Nigeria?
We have been lucky in Nigeria. We've had rights to vote earlier than even Western women. And I think we should, we haven't really been, I don't think we have been discriminated against as such. But there are sectors in our societies where women are considered as property to be sold or to be, and I object to it. And we've always fought about it at various levels, that we are human beings, God created us all equal, and that this shouldn't be acceptable. The sky is the limit for Nigerian women now. Isn't that so? But what worries me is I find that the modern Nigerian women are, many of you think that you are only of worth if you are, how shall I put it? If you are an addendum to or attached to a wealthy man. And I think this is what worries me about this money thing that's in our society now, that our women are, but Nigerian women are very hardworking. I'm very proud of them. They are, many families, you and I know that, are rarely being maintained by their women. And if that is what it takes to keep the family together, I will say, why not? God has given you an opportunity. God has given you a brain to help your husband. I think you should. But whatever you do, honor him also as head of the family. Oh, there are opportunities now. I'm amazed that you don't know there are opportunities. But all of you seem to zero in is our education system that is still archaic and out of date. We should have worked out an education system by which, as you come out of school, university, you can be self-employed. And that is developing, whether we like it or not. You can be self-employed. Why should we have an education system that only teaches a child to read and write? And that's all. You equip a child to earn a living, to be able to contribute to the society. If I ask you now, do you know what is Z2? You give me a blank face. You have given me a blank face. Does anyone know what is Z2? Do you know what is Sonyo? Do you know what is Alare? All that should be part of the education of the child, a Yoruba child anyway. And this is where our education is faulty. We haven't brought their environment and the demands for living, not just survival, for living in the environment into our education system. When we do, when you leave school, you'll be able to think out areas in which you can be self-employed, not just survival. Self-employed is that you are giving a service that the society wants, that will push our level of living higher, our level of thinking higher, our level of real living. And I just don't mean amassing wealth and having all these parties that are taking us so much time and our resources. This is where we are faulted. The government have not thought out an education system that will prepare the ordinary African child or Nigerian child for living in the world global village that we are living in. Now the worst thing is happening. We are all running to Britain and running to America. We are immigrating. And I think that's a bad thing. Bad thing, you are running to places that are already developed instead of staying to develop your own place. So we have a big brain drain out now. My advice to the youth, take all the opportunities you can for learning. And don't restrict your learning to just the handouts. Read books widely. Read on a variety of subjects. Learn about all that. Okay, your handphone that is a mine of knowledge. Don't use it for all the things that they throw at you now, for looking at morbid pictures and things like that. There's no reason why anybody should come out of it and not be able to use their hand or think out what they can do in any area that they are. Study area in which you are and see where you can give service. first of all, I advise the educators to look at their education system and modify it so that we prepare children to be able to think, to be able to create, to be able to live effectively and give service. By the time you leave the university, you must have a skill in which you can work at. I think this is what the world calls for now. You must learn to think, learn to observe, learn to learn, and learn to read, and learn to give service. Not expect on what you will get, but on what you will give to improve your society. Yeah.
So, Ma, having achieved all this and being the first in practically everything you did, what was your greatest challenge, or what were your greatest challenges?
I think my greatest challenge, somehow, I think I was very lucky that I came from a background where I was given confidence as a woman. I was proud to be a woman. I wasn't wishing that I was a man or anything. So so wherever I went, when people tried to discriminate against me, and in fact you found it all the time, and it comes in various forms. First of all, I want to say that the equality between men and women is not important. As long as they have, what we are asking for is equal opportunities for education, for health, because we are all human beings and we all equal before our Creator.
Thank you, Ma. In comparing the youth of your time and the youth of nowadays, do you think the parents have encouraged the education of female children?
In certain areas, we have been lucky. We had an Awolowo who opened the education to all children. And because of that scheme, today the Southwest is in the forefront of education, and education is free to all women. But I will still find out that in families, there is still discrimination when there is scarce resources to pull back the education of the female child and say after all, it's the male child that is going to be dominant, and therefore whether the male child has the capability or not. But we don't have that here much. And I think, unfortunately, the North had definitely not encouraged education for anybody. They have only encouraged education for the elite. And of course, in the process, only the elite and their elite girls too had been educated. But for the general rump of the society, they have neglected the education of the girl child, if that would. But generally, there's still, for example, even the government, there are more schools. When I was growing up, there were more boys' schools than girls' schools, until Awolowo came and said, look, for primary co-education, so that all the girls have an opportunity. But there was still problem for the female child. There was still problem for the girl child. And they still are today. We are still not as generous with education for female children as for male children. But things have got more difficult in the society. And I think we are beginning to see that it's a mistake it's a mistake now to leave any sector of the society uneducated. and that when they did not educate the female children, we slowed down the development process for the whole society. The educated women, their children did better at school than those whose mothers were not educated. And there's no doubt about it. Their children did better, whether boys or girls did better. And so it's, there's no doubt of it that nowadays with the crunch in education, in certain parts of Nigeria, we have neglected the education of the female child, and that is our problem. It's a problem for the whole society.
What was the idea behind Ogunsheye Foundation? How were you able to set it up, and how were you able to manage it through the years?
My husband was a bibliophile. He used to come home almost every day with a handful of books. In any discipline, if you look around, you will find books on medicine, on agriculture, and he did a lot on adult education, adult literacy. He also did a lot of things on adult primary education, that all the public must be educated. He did a lot on agric extension, having educational backup for farmers and the agricultural industry generally. And so he collected, and he'd worked in so many other institutions. So have I too. So we ended up with books just coming into the house, and I kept having to keep them in order for him. In the early days, it was a bit riotous, you know, because he had his own order, and when I come in and put things in order, he used to be very angry that I had disturbed that there was order in the disorderliness that I see. However, gradually he accepted the idea that we should make it into a library, and some of the books here date back to 71, have markings from 71. That was when I started stamping it. He's been collecting since 50. He's also worked in very many institutions, and so have I. Well, not as many as he had. And there were files and files and files of and reports, documentation about that have been generated in the process of administration. And I put it all together in an archival collection. He was also very much a lover of music, so also has a collection of music, right, especially classical music. You know, he's covered almost all the classical music era. You know, Chopin, Beethoven, you know, Strauss, all of them. You know, even some of the Nigerian ones too, and I put them also in. The beautiful thing was that I made it all into a library. Now, when he died, I was left with this collection. I was already a librarian then. I had made it into a library, and I thought, well, this could form a research. I had also worked with women organizations as an activist, as you say, for women's rights and women's education, women's opportunity to work and earn the same as men, an opportunity to contribute to the society. And so because of that, I have also collected, I also have a collection, and I've made it into a recycle. Nowadays, when, for example, and we thought we would make the research collection available if we do set up, if anybody wants to study the history of an area, whether it's in education or in economics of the country, or in industry or in the institutions that we have worked. So we have made it available. How I get funds, I don't know. I just use my own funds. I'm a pensioner, and I haven't made it into a business. Nowadays, you can make, if I digitize it now, I can ask people, I've asked people even to pay very little to register as members so that they, but it hasn't, somehow we've missed the reading culture. And I thought I've made it available to the elderly because I also sponsor a group of senior citizens club here for the last 10 years. And some of them use the library and borrow books from the library. Oh, one of the things that I did recently was to use my own Ashoke collection, put it also into a library. To show you how Ashoke has developed for the last 50 decades, since the 50s, because that is when I started collecting Ashoke. My mother was also in the collection with me because at one time she dealt with Ashoke, selling Ashoke and so on. Theology Museum here, I have a gallery there. And I have a gallery at Obasanjo too. There's an Adetu gallery there of Ashoke. So I'm also interested in Ashoke. And I'm interested that Ashoke should not die. Now, that is my new project, that Ashoke should not die. It can be a source of a new skills avenue for the young, because the fashion has not died. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, and I think this is a very good project. This is also education. This project is also educating you. I remember and this is the new concept of education actually. In some of the schools in the state now, you go in and you pick the subjects you want to do according to your interests, and then go out and create the service that you want to. A 10-year-old child, which my niece brought, had an assignment while she's here to collect information about her environment, the food. And she came here and she had one of these phones and camera with cameras in it, and it was her assignment, and she was photographing the fruits in my garden, collecting information about them. Of course, I have mangoes growing, I have bananas growing, which is never seen on a tree before, and I had the coconut and everything, and collecting to go back to share the information in the USA with her class of only 10-year-olds. No, I think she was only 6 then, actually. She was only 6 then. This was like 5 years ago, and she's 11 now. So, youth engage. They are asking you to engage with your society, to engage with your history, to engage with your heritage, to engage with your icons, to engage with the generation that has passed, and build on what they have built on, not start again from zero. Because when you miss out on that, you're starting again from zero every time. We keep rebuilding, reinventing the wheel. When the wheel is already invented, we should now be doing something about going up into the firmament and building aeroplanes and so on. The Lord will help you.
Amen.
Unforgotten heroes and heroines.
On that dark morning of January 15, 1966, when the first military coup echoed through the cold streets of Kaduna, love and loyalty stood still in time. It was the night when gunfire broke the silence of Kaduna, and love refused to run. Inside the home of Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardana of Sokoto, chaos approached like a storm. Gunfire cracked the night sky. Fear gripped the household. Sir Amadou Bello, dressed in a white caftan, rises from prayer. He turns slowly to his trembling family.
They've come for me.
Hafsatu clutched his hand, her eyes burning with devotion, tears glistening, fear in her eyes but courage in her stance. She reached for his hand and whispered,
"If death will come, we will die together."
Moments later, the soldiers burst through the doors, shouting, trembling, smoke filling the air. And then, in a single act of eternal courage, Hafsatu stepped before her husband, shielding him with her own body. The bullets found her first, then they found him. By dawn, husband and wife, leader and light, lay side by side in their own blood. Their deaths marked the beginning of a new and tragic chapter in Nigeria's history. But that night, love stood its ground. And her name was Hafsatu Bello, the woman who embraced death so her husband would not face it alone. The Youth Engage program celebrate her sheer bravery.
They are legends over time. Youth Engage, let us celebrate them.
Sir, please can you tell us more about you? What was growing up like?
My name is Prince Samuel Adedoyin. I am from a town called Aremu in Kwara State. And I'm a businessman, town industrialist, into various businesses, including where we are now, the hospitality side of our business. I'm a standard 4 past. I became farmer. I tried to go to England, so there I have to become a petty trader, through which I was able to save 40 pounds. Because I want to come back to Nigeria to take my mother. I'm not married then, so back with me. But when I came back, she told me she has promised everybody, people like Babalawo, that if she finds his son, he will give them this, that. So all the money I brought is not even enough for the promise ring the MS has made to those whom she think can find. So I had to give her all what I brought, and I was forced to become a farmer. And in farming, through that, my father forced me to become a wine tapper. Then there was not enough food for me to eat, and most of us in the family then. So, but we are blessed with fresh fruits, banana which are not planted. You can go into the farm and bush. You get pawpaw, you get banana. So I was trying to go and find a banana. So I saw some burnt cassava farms, which was very large. So I thought the cassava farms roots look big, and I think planting a maize there will be fertile, will make the maize be very good. So I planted maize there. And that place which was burnt is bigger than where our own family was farming. So I planted the maize, it grew up well and bring very good yield. So I had to tell my father to come and see, so that they wouldn't say, where did I get the maize? So the crop was so large that I was able to sell it at 54 pounds then, which is more than what our family together can realize. So through that, I wasn't having enough dresses. I sold the maize in Ibadan. So I bought some shoes. And all these shoes, they were Leonard shoes. I don't know whether the young one, may not know. There were Leonard shoes, so I bought Leonard suede shoes. But I don't know which was in vogue then. And with £2, I was able to fill my suitcase. So I went back home with £52. So I gave my mother £4, asked my father to bless the remaining £48. And through that £48, I came to Lagos to start trading. So all part of what we are seeing now is part of the £48 invested then. But I started with a shed of 2x4 at Dosimo Street. And to God be the glory, I was able to buy the house before I left Dosimo for OOPL, which is a bigger place.
Sir, how were you able to cope with the separation of your parents? Because most youths of nowadays use the excuse of coming from a broken home to misbehave.
Our own time is quite different from yours. That time, a broken home urged me to work hard, want me to become myself, and I was able even to reconcile them when I became blessed. So a broken home should make a man not to be able to be developed or be blessed, because all my own life I don't live with either of them. And it allows me to be able to think deep. There's no drug then anyhow. So I've never smoked or do anything near that. The only thing I focus, as I am even at this age doing, is working hard. The only difference is this is a computer age, which I'm not an expert in. But even with my own brain and know-how, with the little education that I have, I'm still very busy, working almost 7 days a week, visiting my hospitality businesses. In the morning, I've gone to the factory.
So from your experience, what is the relationship between formal education and success?
Well, to me, determination is the difference. Because with my own standards, 4 passed, I don't know whether you're already a graduate or you're trying to become one, but I think we are both speaking good English to each other. And my determination is I always believe people wrote those books. Somebody invented them. Why could I not invent what I want to be? Why couldn't I speak the way you speak or better than you if I can? That is my determination. That is the way I try to make my life. I don't see any difference between then and now, because even now, whatever achievement you may achieve in education, if you cannot practicalize it, put it into practical use, you can still not be successful. But if you are determined to succeed, and whatever you are able to pass, you put it into practical use, then you will be great.
So would you say your need for a better lifestyle was what drove you towards your success as a young lad, sir?
Did I really know what is called a better life then? But anyhow, I would say so, because I know that being in business is better than being farming. But all what I think I told God when I already started, that if He can build a bungalow for me and bypass, but a Volkswagen for me, because I started by riding Akulus bicycle. It's not in vogue now too. Hercules and Raleigh was the bicycle in vogue then, and Raleigh was like the Rolls Royce, while Hercules was like the Mercedes. I mean, like the I would say like Mercedes of today. So I was able to buy Hercules. From Hercules, there was a motorbike being brought in by CFO, they call it, but you have to move it forward before it works. So I bought that. And from that, I was able to buy the Volkswagen, which I told God to build for me. And the bungalow I want, he was able to build a 27 bedrooms for me at the age of 19 in Lagos. So that is how I started.
Men are said to be closer to their mothers than their fathers, while the women are closer to their fathers than their mothers. How does this apply to you?
This one applied to me totally. I am addicted to my own mother. It's because my father doesn't like her that made me want to throw away in the first place, because he doesn't like my mother. This is not the only ones he married. So, but my mother was the first. But for whatever reason between them, he doesn't like them. And I'm in love with my mother until he died about 3 years ago at over 100 years of age.
Sir, do you like your business tips and recommendations for the young youth entrepreneur out there?
Nigeria is a very diversified country. And what may work for the young ones in Lagos may not work for the ones in Kwara, where I came from. The one in Kwara may not work for those in Kano or for those in Asaba. So it depends in which area that you come or grow from. But if it is possible for one to be able to rent a caterpillar, for instance, to farm, I would say farm is still the best to start with, because we have gone back to farming in a greenhouse type last year, and we have already been selling to departmental stores in Lagos. And when you are looking like for tomato, green pepper, different kinds of vegetables which they used to bring from the north, we are easily able to produce them in the greenhouse, which you bring from Kwara to Lagos. And I know that there's a lot of greenhouses been established all around Lagos, which will make farming to be very profitable than what it used to be before. I think it's still a very good beginning place, because you can, without much capital, maybe 50 or 100,000, you can start farming if your parents have farmland. You can start with cassava, you can start with potato and all that things, and you can be able to sell maybe 5 tons a year or more, or 10 tons, which is more than the salary you can earn when you have been employed as a civil servant, for instance.
How do you expect them to raise their capital? As you said, you can start with farmland, because most people don't have the capital to start this, and many people have ideas of going into farming.
It's been suggested for years to the federal government to provide such capital for the beginners. And I know that there's an agreed plan which has recently been established through which a beginners can access up to between 2 million and 5 million.
Currently?
Currently. I've read it in the paper. I know it is existing. And they were telling people that the beginners will be able to access the money there. But you don't even need that much to establish a small farming. But if you have to go into greenhouse and you want to use like bamboo instead of aluminum and cover it with polyethylene bags, which will also serve as a greenhouse but may not last like the aluminum green farm. But you will have make your money maybe within 4 or 5 years many times. Then you can go to the sophisticated greenhouse farms. That's another area where you can go to a loan of about 5 million to start with 1 or 2 greenhouse farms.
So, with your previous comments from the efforts of the federal government, do you believe the current political state favors the youths of nowadays? We hear of, sure, there are provisions for small business startups, but at large, we hear of trillions being taken by our leaders. We hear of finances being misappropriated, and yet the youths are still suffering. The avenues for youths to develop themselves are not there. So, do you think the government is really living up as a whole to what the youths expect of them?
What they are saying about Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigerians alone. The way you see beggars sleeping on the roads, in England too, you go to under the train station, you see people sleeping on the streets, sleeping like Oxford Street, which is the main eyebrow street in London. People like you, the children, should not look at those that are stealing. You should look at what you can be or what you can make by yourself. And what I am saying is that Nigeria is not peculiar to stealing or fraud. Maybe Nigeria may be more, I don't know, but it happens all over the world. But you can live your life without defrauding anybody. You can be very successful without working with any government. I'm telling you that I employ over 2,000 workers, and I have never asked for contract or get any contract from any government, be it state or federal government in Nigeria. And I'm surviving, and I'm blessed.
Sir, right now, presently, Nigeria is going through a terrible persistent recession. How has it affected your business? Or how is it affecting your business right now?
Well, it affects every aspect of Nigeria, but does not stop Nigeria being developed, because there are so many countries without oil, and they are blessed. And Nigeria can be blessed and be extremely blessed even without oil. This is why I told you that I started with farming. That is nearly over 60 years ago. And the most relevant thing one Nigerians can still do now is farming as well. For instance, when Nigeria gained independence, there's no oil. They have palm kernel, cotton, cocoa, rubber, all of which are still available for export if we can produce it. But we are not producing it because everybody, like you or like me, want to be in Lagos or in the capital states and don't want to be in a farming area. But those whom we employ during the farming are even graduates. So, and they're living in a town where I was born, because we have a lot of land there I don't have to buy. And we are able to develop land as much as possible. And I believe that if you travel by road, you will see green on the right and the left of all the country being wasted. Now you know that in some countries like Kenya, like South Africa, they even grow flowers which they fly to Europe to sell and make foreign exchange. But we are not taking advantage of that. We are not doing that here. Those are the things that I think we should change to. And Nigeria will become blessed again, even without oil. Because you know what brings recession is lack of sales of oil. And if we are able to live without oil, we will be able to diversify into, I'll go to manufacturing later, but I'm telling you as what is called a starter. One can start from farming. Again, Nigeria should be industrialized, because every country that will develop and become a great country in the present world must industrialize. If we do not industrialize, we cannot call ourselves an independent country without an independent economy, which we are in a borrowed economy now. Everything we borrow, which shouldn't be the case.
Given your early beginnings into farming, would you say there's a benchmark age-wise for someone to start up? For the youths out there, is there a limit to how old you can be before you really start up something of your own?
I don't believe there is any, because people retire, some at the age of 60, some at the age of 70. When I started, we used to, I rent a shed. The owner goes to the shop at 10 a.m. So I was forced to wait till 10 a.m. before we can open our shed, because he has the key to the shop. But when I was able to rent my own shop, I started at 8 o'clock. And ever since, more than 60 years ago, I've been starting at the age of, at the 8 o'clock time. Even today, I left home before 7 to avoid traffic, to be able to go to all the places I need to go. So I think the world is same. You only need to apply some differences to reach your goal and achieve what you determine to achieve.
You've got to start leading today in order to more effectively lead tomorrow.
Because Nigeria, which is an oasis within the desert, is not good for Nigeria.
I thought that every person in this world was a Fulani person. I went to primary school, more confusing. When I went to secondary school in Barewa, there was everybody there. Being a Fulani man stopped being relevant to my life.
Our program celebrates A-listed Nigerians who have track records and achievements both nationally and internationally.
One of the beauties of this program is the passion shared by the classes of people we engage.
Hypocrisy is the fact that I don't take action and then I am complaining about the action that other people took.
That's the mistake my generation made, that we allowed a few people who really were not qualified for leadership.
You can never use cash to get experience. Your experience can give you cash.
What we call the eternal verities don't change. Verities means truth.
Welcome to Youth Engage.
You can see that you are very determined, a very hardworking man. Sir, who mentored you?
God mentored me. There's nothing you can do without God. My name, my maiden name, or the name my mother called me, used to be Ogundele, which is a god of iron. And we used to go to church then. I don't know what motivated me, but God made me to believe in him. So before I do anything, I cried to him. I begged him for guidance. I begged him for knowledge. And he has been guiding me. And so I do not see any alternative way for our children than to be close to God, worship and praise him daily, and he will guide you aright.
Sir, as a businessman, how do you manage all your businesses?
Well, it's by direction. In this place, when the guy is coming here, I ask him to come and see a general manager. He managed this place. He reports to me. There are some areas where there is a manager, not a general manager. It depends on how big the business is. This is a 140-bedroom hotel. It's a big size, and it has 3 halls and other facilities like where we're sitting now. So it depends on how big that business is. In the factories, we have a general manager, but there are some small businesses we have managers, like in the farms now.
Sir, so can we say it was God that kept you going after all the setbacks you faced?
Definitely no other way out than Jesus. There's no other way than the God Almighty. When you are in trouble, and the fact is that he listened to even sinners like me. There was several times I tempted God. If I'm going to Ikeja, I would say, and I'm going to Ikeja, God, I want to get there in 1 hour. And God used to answer me. I said, I don't want to be in go slow. I want to get there in 1 hour. And God answered me. When I was traveling, the best cars was Rolls Royce. And there was odd and even in Lagos. That was over 30 years ago. I told God, I want to buy Rolls Royces. He bought 2 for me in 1 day.
So with all your achievements, what were the major challenges you faced, and how were you able to move forward from them?
Challenges are many in the world.
Yes.
Even as a Christian, God didn't say you will not face challenges. That is where you got even to know God more. There was a time I owned a bank called City Express. And for whatever reason then, the bank was taken. And I wasn't the only one. There are many bank owners that take many faces, problems. I even have a close one who died because they took his bank. But I told my mind that even the first day I would go to the bank to borrow £2 at First Bank about 62 years ago. I've never been in an air condition. So I went like this. There's one MD called MacLeod at First Bank. So when I entered this office, within 10 minutes I was shaking. So I don't know what was wrong with me. But I said, all I want is I want to borrow £2. So I was able to say that, and then I was shaking, and it didn't warn me that it was the air condition worrying me. So I just managed, I get out, and within 10 minutes I'm back to myself. So I says, oh, is this thing like Oye? Because it was like the Harmattan time that is making me to sick. That was the first time I would go into an air condition. So with those determinations, now you go in the car, you have air conditioning in the rooms, in the passage, and everything, because God provided it. But where it's possible, I want to be like where we are now without air conditioning.
Thank you, sir.
So challenges is part of the world. Begging God to overcome it sincerely is another one, because at that time the shares of our bank, for instance, go for about 12 naira. But after taking the bank, those banks that are not taken, in Golden First Bank, that was about 40 naira then, the share dropped to 3 naira. There are some bank shares that dropped to 60 kobo. So I am sure that if the bank was not taken then, I wouldn't have been doing much better than them. Maybe my own too would be 60 kobo. So what you will have gained and think is money then became nothing. But God used a diversified system to bring me up to me more than those who own a bank today.
Sir, at this golden age, do you think you've achieved all that you've ever wanted to?
I first of all live in a room of 6 by 8 feet. Today, in my house, it's a pity with the interview was not taken there. I have 2 swimming pools in my house. And if I am to build another house, I have a better idea, which I will do more than where I'm living now. Maybe one day you come and visit me in my house. I'll take you around. So there's nobody who can be satisfied. Nigeria is not satisfied. Even America is not satisfied. Yes. Everybody wants more. So when you achieve this, you will want to achieve a better thing for you, for your children, for your family. So there's no limit to where you will stop until you go back to Jesus.
Sir, today, do you believe that when you want to start a business, you have to be corrupt?
Corrupt?
Yeah, like you have to know people
Bribe
that will actually maybe boost you, or people in the higher class. So people that could not reach the higher class, how do you expect them to start?
If God has brought me to this position, I was born in a small town. And at least since the last 6 presidents in Nigeria, I know them all. When you trust in the Lord and you believe in yourself and you do honest business, God will be promoting you. You might be a slave today, He will make you to dine with the king, as it is said in the Bible. You don't have to be corrupt to be able to get to, how do you want to get the money to corrupt rich people anyhow? If you want to be poor and you want to connect with the rich, so how do you want to get the money to corrupt the rich? But if you pray to God, He will just be connecting you to where you need to be at each time.
Sir, so what was your motivation towards becoming a philanthropist?
Well, in where I was born, this is one of my house assistants. I trekked 14 miles to be able to go and get a lorry to come to Lagos, barefooted. So I told God, if you are able to help me, maybe one day I will think like tarring the road. And 28 and a half years ago, I was able to tar the 14-kilometer roads. And I've been maintaining the road. And then until 22 years, I don't go to hospital. The day they will inject me, I was running, putting injection into my buttock. But I first of all build dispensary maternity in my town. And later, I built a general hospital for them, which I donate to the Kwara government. But they couldn't even manage it well, that I have to be still paying the doctor's salary. So building churches, when you know you go to a beautiful church, you want something like that where you will worship. So in that way, I tell God, He helps me, I'm able to do such things. Or scholarships, I already have those I give scholarships who are professors who are still close to me.
So, given the challenges in your childhood with your parents' relationship, how were you able to avoid that in your own family? How did that affect your decisions as a father, as a husband?
Well, the life that, as I said, I've always believed that I come to my world. Father and mother is not the maker mind. God made you. You only come through a caretaker called father and mother. If one is not lucky to be able to be with the father and mother at the same time, you have somebody who is bigger than father and mother, which is God Almighty. You just call on Him. He's the maker of your mother, the maker of your father, the maker of yourself. So He that created your mother and your father and create you can be a blessing father and mother. That is my belief, and that is what I follow up, that make a broken home does not mean anything to me. But in my own case, I love my children, whether their mother is there or not. They are very close to me. The one who is not close, I try to beg so that he will be close to me. He or she will be close to me.
Sir, at 82, you're this radiant. No walking stick, no glasses. How do you keep your body moving forward at this young?
That's God's grace. But I try to eat right. I hardly drink. I'm a social drinker. If we go to parties, maybe I have a glass of wine in my glass, joking, talking. I can't finish it. I've never smoked. And you eat less of fattening foods. Generally, there is all the telephones you are using. You look at the internet, you can see what you eat, which is right, which is wrong. When you eat right, you exercise. But all said and done, with prayer to God for guidance, He will take you to the right age with the right help.
Do you believe that most rich people are either in one secret cult or the other, or there's a particular gang for, okay, these are my people who are in this. So, sir, what's your take on that?
It is you children who are in cult. At our own time, there's no cult. And in my own case, if I go anywhere, my drivers or my police or whatever, they will know where I go. So do I go to Babalawo and go and ask what I will ask God, ask it from a man? It's silly to be in cults. It's silly to trust in what is not that of God. If the cult makers or the Babalawos can make your life better, why don't they make their own life better? That is what you have to. When we were young, somebody tricked me to a place which they said is Babalawo. And they were talking and so on. I look at where I was living and where he's living. He was boasting, he can do this, he can do that. I just asked him that. I was already riding a Mercedes then, that this one who is talking, if he can do anything, why don't you do it for yourself? I asked him, he can't give me a straight answer, and he said, sometimes you are not gifted to do something for yourself. I said, so you are made to live in slavery and make other people rich? But how do you even think that the currency being printed by a machine will be dropping from heaven for you? To me, I've never believed, I've never seen it. I've only trusted in the Lord, and it has made it work for me. Don't let anybody in the college or university or anywhere deceive you. There is no other way than to be close to your God. If they can help you, why don't they help themselves? Okay, how many cultish people have you known as president in Nigeria? Tell me one. No, you have heard the rumor that he was a cultist when he was young. Have you ever read of one? So why are you talking about cultists? You want to be president. You want to be prime minister. You want to, I've had a daughter who is a minister more than 12 years ago, a federal minister. So if, and later she resigned, it was under a president, I don't want to be mentioning names. She's also in the House of Rep now. Now, if all these things can happen, will they be the one who will be voting for them at the voting booth or what? The only person that can help you is the unseen Father, who doesn't deceive. He doesn't tell stories. You just trust him and he will do the impossibilities for you. Don't let anybody deceive you. Don't let anybody tell you there is any power anywhere. Because all those who have that power, let them use it for themselves and see. All the cultists in the universities, which one has their plane stored in one place? So why do you believe in cultists or even talk about it? There's only a God, one God, who can save, who can help, who can elevate you, and who can protect and guide you, even from the cultists, which is God Almighty. Trust in him and him alone.